Coulter joins me now, the syndicated columnist and the author of the book that's out now, Resistance is Futile, How the Trump-Hating Left Has Lost Its Collective Mind. And they really have, Ann, when you've got Andrew Cuomo out saying, America isn't really great, never has been, and it's not going to be. Welcome to the program. How are you?
Fine, thanks. It's not actually out until next week, though I'm giving a few sneak previews of it.
Well, I'm glad to have you do that, but I want first your take on why Unite the Right had the left so excited and the media so excited.
Well, it had me excited because we could finally, put a test to whether Antifa, as they call themselves, anti-fascists, whether they are the peaceful little doves that Mitt Romney and Marco Rubio think they are, and of course the entire media and the entire Democratic Party and two-thirds of the Republican Party. We got to test that theory this past weekend when there was no Unite the Right in Charlottesville. So the media had been celebrating this all week. They wanted this to be a big anniversary of, it is like Emanuel Goldstein in Orwell's 1984. They put an image of an imaginary person up on the screen, and people would come together and scream 2 minutes hate. And that's what the KKK and white supremacists are. I mean, to the extent anyone is a member of the Klan, they're eccentrics who apparently want a lot of publicity, because boy will they get it by just saying I'm a member of the Klan. The organizer of the Unite the Right movement, that Jason Kessler, lives with his parents, voted for Obama. I don't think he said anything, and I could be wrong, I don't think he said anything particularly racist. He wanted to defend the statues and bring these groups together, and apparently people who I claim, they're in the Klan and white supremacists showed up. But this past weekend for the anniversary, there were none. You didn't have Emanuel Goldstein there. There were, according to the most generous media estimates, in Washington, D.C., there were 24 Unite the Right members, quite obviously wearing, lots and lots of bulletproof vests, because that's how much power they have in America. They're worried about being shot dead in the street like a dog. They were surrounded by phalanxes of policemen. You couldn't even see them. And so we just got to see, leftists with no provocation. Rubio claims it was, white supremacists instigated this, whereas at the time, the original Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville that led to the violence, Cheryl Gay Stolberg, a very liberal writer for the New York Times, she was tweeting live saying, wow, the violence is coming from both sides. But no, not according to Republicans. It was all the Unite the Right side, these loser eccentrics. Because we need somebody to hate. I mean, we live in a world where college professors are tweeting out, all I want for Christmas is white genocide. And you had that college professor, such as he was at some sad little college, and I guess he was a lecturer, out at Berkeley when it was just a meeting of Trump supporters. There was nothing. Nobody was claiming to be a member of the Klan. You didn't even have the nuts there. It was just Trump supporters who wanted to have a rally, and Antifa shows up and starts beating the crap out of them, beating police up, and this one guy, the college lecturer, is smashing people on the head with one of those massive U bike locks. I mean, the video of this online, and that's the only place you can get the truth these days, with the media having lost its mind. The video of this, it's amazing. The guy who was hit on top of the head with this huge lock, it's amazing he wasn't, or not amazing, but surprising that he was not killed. He could have been killed. He needed, 7 or 8 staples in his scalp. He was bleeding profusely. You can hear the crack as it comes down on his head. And this college lecturer was going around campus, or not campus, going around to these Trump supporters. He hit at least 7 of them. Did the police track him down? No, they did not. Some group on the internet did. They carefully put all the pictures together. They did all this sleuthing. They figured out who he was. They sent it all to the Berkeley police. The Berkeley police arrest him, and last week he got probation for what ought to be attempted murder. I mean, we're living in it is much like, if you read through the history books, the Jim Crow period in the American South, where black people just couldn't get justice from the local courts, the local cops, not throughout the South, but in a lot of places in the South, from the local newspapers, and that's why we have federal civil rights laws. Things that ought to normally be, a matter of state law, had to be federalized because the states weren't doing it. Now liberals want to federalize everything. Here's something where we could actually use it because we don't have normal police protection for conservatives, for you, for me, for anyone. These lunatics decide to say, I don't have a good argument, therefore I'm going to call you a Nazi.
Yeah, and because, look, Ann, what do we do about this? Because I have a feeling an awful lot of the individual police officers don't think that this is the right way to handle it. Unfortunately, their police forces, especially in the bigger cities, are always run by liberal politicians. Very few big cities in America are not run by liberal politicians. So you may have a sensible group of people in uniform, but they take orders. They're a paramilitary organization that takes orders from a liberal politician who calls the shots as to how they're going to handle these things. I'm seeing it right in my home backyard because we're based in Portland, Oregon, where our studios are.
That's right.
And the local mayor calls the shots. And actually, I think the police chief's been doing a good job, but she has to answer to the mayor, and the mayor has to do whatever's politically correct.
Right, and even when, in the case of the bike lock attacks in Berkeley, admittedly, the police didn't find the guy. That took the internet sleuths to do it.
Yeah.
And he was wearing a bandana. I mean, he was totally hidden. I mean, it really is so much like the Reconstruction South, where they are the Klan members. They're covering their faces. Instead of white, they're showing up in black and just engaging in rampant violence, which this has happened over and over and over again during the Trump's campaign. Of course, you remember Chicago.
Oh, yeah.
And was it Santa Cruz, California? These Trump rallies, these happy, families going to a Trump rally, that woman who got egged, they're being chased, they're being beaten. Then we had it at Trump's inauguration, several times at Berkeley, down in Charlottesville, which the media did, the original one. Media didn't show us a whole lot from that, but there was a long report by a law firm saying this was the decision of the chief of police to funnel the two groups together, ensuring there would be violence and telling his underlings, let them fight because then we can declare a state of emergency.
That's insane because, Charlottesville could have easily issued a permit on one side of town at one park, a permit on the other side of town at the other park, and say, don't get out of your area, your permitted area, because that's why they issue permits for large parades and large events, is to have crowd control and that sort of thing. That would have been it, but the mayor of Charlottesville decided to deliberately provoke that confrontation. And, Ann, it's inexcusable. But when are the average folks in America who don't want any of this stuff going on going to start demanding of their political leaders do something about this?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think Trump, and incidentally, that was a great thing about Trump. I mean, he pointed out one side, in the original Charlottesville, one side did have a permit. They were there to oppose the taking down of Confederate statues.
Yep.
They had permits. The Antifa group did not have permits. That is how it's done. They were abiding by the law. In Trump's statements that drove the media absolutely crazy for claiming there was violence on both sides. Oh, how dare you? One side was anti-fascist. That's what Mitt Romney said. As I say in my upcoming book, if only the Nazis had figured this out. Just call yourself an anti-fascist.
Exactly.
That'll do it.
The upcoming book is Resistance is Futile, and I got ahead of myself. It's out on the 21st of August, and Ann, we always appreciate you coming on.
Well, I'll be back to talk about my book next week.
Glad to see you then, or talk to you then.